Vasudeva. Good morning to all brothers and sisters. Hari Om. Semno mitrasyam varunaha semno bhavatvaryama semna indro bruhaspatihi semno vishnurukramah namo brahmane namaste vayo tvameva pratyaksham brahmasi tvameva pratyaksham brahma vadishyami ratam vadishyami satyam vadishyami tanmamavatu tadvaktaramavatu avatu mam avatu vaktaram. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Prachya paschatya deshanam samanvaya vidhayakam Shantam Saumya Gunopetam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Asmasmat Gurubhyo Namaha. So far we have studied 11 aphorisms. So up to now, what was explained is how a person can exist in his own real nature when there is suspension of the behavior of the mind happens. In the persons of normal life, that means who have not entered into yogic practice, in such a people, they exist, they live identified with the behavior of the mind. And also it was explained that there are 5 types of behaviors of mind. So it was briefly explained about these 5 types of behaviors of mind. But during our study of the sutras of Patanjali, the reference always will be there for these 5 types of behaviors, because all our activity, daily activity is using the mind and the senses and all our tools or instruments. So therefore, we more and more we go deeper into the study of the science of yoga, more and more we can have an understanding, and more and more we will be able to use properly all these instruments. The more we get into yogic practice, the more it will be easier for us. So, this is, so there are 5 types of behaviors of our mind. So that is right measure, wrong measure, imaginary measure, and absent of measure, that is sleep, and then smriti, it means recollection. So these types are 5 types of behaviors are identified for the mind. So there is no other type of behavior except these 5 types of behaviors. That was confirmed by repeated verification of the human psychology in the higher sense. So, we will be existing either in the absence of measure, which we call sleep. What happens during sleep is only we can say that the person, the inner person, is the owner, or we can call proprietor or owner. And then the mind and the senses, all these are like the secretary, managers, like this. So when during the state of sleep, which is considered as one of the 5 behaviors of mind, so during this, who is sleeping is these secretary and managers and all this. That means the mind, senses, they will be sleeping. But the actual owner of the instrument, owner of the total instrument, he doesn't sleep. If he sleeps, then the instrument is discarded, which we call death. So, he will not sleep, and the apparatus, which is like a laboratory, where all the work is going on. This is our body is like a laboratory or a field of working. It is explained as the field of working in the 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So it can be also compared to a laboratory where a constant work is going on. So the apparatus continuously keeps working even while we means the mind and senses, that means the secretaries and managers, while they are in sleep, but the instrument keeps working, and the owner of the instrument, the I am, is also awake. He never sleeps. So this is what we have to remember. So these assistants, they will be sleeping. They need sleep. The mind and the senses. So these fellows and the buddhi, all this. So they will be sleeping. So the laboratory keeps on working even while we are sleeping. So this also we have studied to a certain extent about this. And another thing is to use the measures in a proper manner, or what we call right use of the measures. And we can use the measures in a confused manner also. Complicated manner, non-complicated and complicated. So this also we have studied. So what we have to remember is that either we will be in the sleep state, that means one of these behaviors, or in other 4 types of behaviors. Out of 5 behaviors, one is sleep, and then other 4 types of behaviors. That means the right measure, wrong measure, imaginary measure, and smriti, recollection, which is called which is smriti, means in the past, living in the past. So recollection is living in the past. This is one of the main things, So Generally, most of the people who have not entered into yogic practice or yogic life, what they do is, out of 24 hours in a day, mostly 23 hours and 48 minutes, most of the people, they dwell either in the past or in the future, which is useless. To live in the past or to dwell in the future, both are useless. So, when you have gone into yogic life, yogic way of living, then you will be living in the present, not, when we are dwelling in the past, then you think of what you have done last time, the previous day or previous year, or what you have done during the past years, what you have achieved, and all these things. So, thinking of them is a waste. Another extreme is dwelling in the future. So, planning, you can make a plan and keep on working for the plan, but always thinking about the plan, what I have to do tomorrow, and so what I have to achieve. So all these things are about living in future. So living in the present is yoga. So living in the present, which is called awareness in the present, that is called. That is yoga. So what we are going to practice, what we are first, when we study about the behaviors, then what we have to practice is to live in the present. So the time of our living in the present should increase, and the time in which we live in the past or live in the future should be minimized. The more you are advancing, we are advancing towards the yogic way of living, more and more we should be able to live in the present. So this is a proof also that we are advancing towards the yogic way of living. So then what happens if we always keep living in the present? Even at the end stage of our life means physical body, when it is time for us to leave the body, then also, that is the last minute or last moment, then also we will be able to remember who I am, the indweller. So he who leaves the body while remembering the Lord consciousness or the indweller, then what happens is there is no death. Only the body is left off. When its purpose or tenure is over, then we leave the body, but we will not die. And then, so, so to be awake or to be aware till the last moment, so that means they are aware of the consciousness. Their consciousness is, they are aware in their consciousness even at the time of leaving the body, and even after leaving the body also. When you have reached the yogic stage of living, then while leaving the body also, your consciousness, you are aware even your consciousness. And after leaving the body also you are the same. Therefore, for such a person, There is only leaving the body without death. There is no death. So, such a person has no fear of death because there is no death. So these people, such people who are stabilized in the yogic living, they keep on doing their work. So either the work in the office, work at home. So they keep on working, just like how during daytime we keep on working, and then after the daytime it is night time, we approach the night time, and at the night time we get into sleep. So at the end of the day, automatically we get into the sleep. Next morning again we are awake and we start our work. In the same manner, with the body also, such people, when it is time for leaving the body, so they leave the body and again they get into new body and start the work. So for them, for such persons, it is a continuous process. There is no such thing like death. So that is what is the state that we attain by attaining the yogic living. So we keep on continuing our work. So this continuity of work, is through many births. Bodies come and bodies go. But we are aware of our existence and we continue our work. This is the most ideal state which is to be attained. That can be attained by practicing yoga in the manner in which it is being explained by Patanjali through his aphorisms. So that is very important, which we have to remember. So we get into birth, it is not by our effort. We get into a new body, we get into a birth, it is given to us. So when something is given to us without our effort, then we cannot claim that it is our own, or also we cannot make a discarding. No, I don't want this body, I don't want this life because it is all sinful. So some people are there who want to suggest the God consciousness that I don't want another body, another life, because it is all full of sin and all this. So those people, they try to pray the Lord, oh Lord, please don't give me another life. I don't want another body, another life. But this is something like suggesting better thing to God. It is ridiculous if we want to suggest something better to God. So therefore, we should not think of all these things. Because all these things are imagined by people who are not in the yogic state. They keep on imagining what happens after we leave the body. Why should we imagine something what happens after leaving the body? Because you are still in the body and we are concerned with what we have to do in the body during our stay in the body. We are expected to do our duty during the time we are in the body. Otherwise, all the time we keep on thinking what happens after leaving the body, what we will do. That is not useful. where we will go. Some people are having this idle, it is called idle curiosity. It is of no use. If I know that after leaving the body I will go this and I will go into that, I will do this, all these things it makes us to feel only that I know so much. But practically what we have to do now is lost. So that is why in real yogic practice these things will disappear. Only we live in present. When we are at the table for our food, when food is served, you are before the food, then you have to be present with the food and taking the food. While food is served before you, if you keep on thinking about something past or about your future plans, keep discussing, all this is useless. So yogi will never do that. So therefore, 5 types of behaviors are identified. So these 5 types of behaviors are, again and again we have to observe and apply that. So this type of division of 5 types of behaviors, so these are all to make us know, to explain us what we are doing. That is for this. But knowing this simply is not enough. If we know about these behaviors, that is not just enough. It is just like how when we want to go somewhere, suppose I want to go to Paris, and I take a map of the world, and on the map I will see where is Paris. And if I stand there, does it mean that I am in the Paris? So, similarly, if I know all about these 5 types of behaviors, that doesn't mean that I have reached yogic state. Knowing simply is of not, we have to know it, but they are to be applied and experienced. Then only, how can we know that we have experienced it? How can we know that we are advanced? It is simple. If we are free from our impressions about others, and if we are free from likes and dislikes, all these things, then this is a proof that we are just on the path of practicing. So, therefore, all our emotions, all these erratic behaviors should disappear. So, first of all, we must be practical in our mundane life, and we must be balanced in our mundane life. So this is the proof for us that we are on the yogic path. So we have this, we are given this apparatus for such training and such practice. We have to use this apparatus for such practice. So then what is meant is, so these 5 types of behaviors are to be suspended. Is it that we have to suspend them? So, first of all, we should not try to stop the mind, first step. That is wrong. Suspend the behavior but not suspending the mind. Chitta nirodha means suspending the mind. That is wrong. Chitta vritti nirodha. That means suspending the behavior of the mind. That is what is required. And also, suspension will happen when we practice what is to be done. But if we keep on thinking how we have to suspend the behavior of my mind, again the effort you are doing is with the mind, so it cannot be done. There is the secret is there. So therefore, what we have to do, so we cannot fight with the mind to suspend its behavior, because that is a wrong procedure, and the whole life, even if we try to do it, it will be a failure. So all these things are, so what are required for the suspension of the behavior of mind, that is explained in this aphorism. That is, in this aphorism 12, he is going to explain about what are the implements required to get the behavior of the mind suspended. Abhyasa vairagyabhyam tan nirodhaha. That is what he says. There are two things which are to be applied. Abhyasa is a constant repetition. That is abhyasa. Two things. One is abhyasa, a constant repetition, and the second thing is vairagya, that is non-attachment. So suspension of mind, suspension of the behavior of mind, stopping the behavior of mind is through constant repetition and non-attachment. These are the two. Since mind cannot be traced only by internal and external activity, we have to propose and prescribe something internal and external to get round the mind. Because there are two types of activities of the mind. One is internal activity and other is external activity. So in both of these, we have to apply these instruments. So the internal effort is to repeat the idea of our existence filtered from our impressions. That is what is called abhyasa. So what is abhyasa is also given in our next aphorism, it is given. So abhyasa doesn't mean only simply practice. It is not just a practice. So in a scientific manner we have to know this. Abhyasa means repetition of the effort. That is what is required. Tatra sthitau yatno abhyasaha. That is aphorism 13. In aphorism 13, he is explaining what is abhyasa. So abhyasa means repetition is to remain in that state. Tatra sthitau, in that state. Abhyasa means repetition, or the idea is to remain in that state for stopping the behavior towards impressions. So the idea, first of all, it is like an idea. So suspension of the behavior of mind, that is like a, so the effort, yatnaha means the effort. We have to keep in that effort of, keep repeating the effort, that is abhyasa. So the idea is to be translated into attitude. Attitude, attempt and action. This is the sequence. First of all, we have to get into the attitude. to get suspended our behavior. Then we have to make an attempt. First is attitude. We have to get into the attitude of getting suspended the behavior. We have to observe our behavior, how our mind is behaving. It will be behaving in all the 5 types which are classified. So in one of the 5 types, the mind keeps behaving. So we have to observe the mind, how it is behaving. So we have to apply an attitude that this behavior should be suspended. So we have to get into that attitude. Before that, what is happening is, the mind is just let loose. It is continuously, it keeps on behaving in its own way. In all these 5 types of behaviors, it keeps on behaving and working. So this is not what we want. We want to get this suspended. Unless this is suspended, we cannot live in our real existence. So that is, for that purpose, these behaviors are to be suspended. And how these can be suspended is, first by applying abhyasa. So abhyasa, what is abhyasa? What is the effort? The effort is to make the mind free from impressions. That is the effort. As long as the mind is continuing to make impressions, then it is not suspended. Behavior is not suspended, because when impression is there, then there is a reaction, which is behavior of the mind. So this is to be suspended. For this purpose, we have to keep repeating the effort. Repetition means do it again and again, again and again. That is what is called repetition. So, practice also means the same, but repetition, so repetition is constant application. So this repetition is to be applied in our life every moment, not only for certain time. With every work what we are doing, we have to apply this repeatedly. Repetition, that is repetition. So it should be continuously focused on everything we do. This is abhyasa. So this effort is to be focused. What is the effort? To suspend the behavior. That means to keep the mind away from impressions. This we have to continuously, we have to focus in every thing what we have to do, what we are doing. It is an effort to live in the present. That means focusing on every work which we are doing means keeping our mind focused towards everything what we are doing. That means we are living in the present. Every incident of our daily life, there are several incidents in our daily life. So in every incident, this focus should be there. For a non-yogic mind, it is for the non-yogic mind to get involved in motive or emotion while talking or transacting business with other person. What happens is we get involved in a motive or emotion. Then a yoga student, what he has to do is to make an effort not to get involved. So what is to be repeated is this effort not to get involved. So constant effort results in constant practice. So this effort, non-stop, constant effort. So if you put the effort for some time and stop the effort, then again you will be back in your old habit only. So you have to put the effort constantly without stop. That is what is required. That is abhyasa. So how long we have to keep this effort? That is the question. How long we have to keep the effort? Until it becomes a habit. Until it becomes a habit means until it becomes effortless. So, forming impression in your mind is the obstacle. So we have to constantly keep your effort to get this behavior suspended so that no impression is formed in your mind about your person, a person or a object or anything in your daily life with every incident. So this how long we have to put this effort means until it becomes a habit to your mind that no more your mind is forming any impression. When your mind is not forming any impression in any situation and not getting involved with the behavior of the other person, then your mind got into this habit. So until it gets into a habit and becomes a habit, you have to continue this repetition, repeated application. So that is what is required, constant repetition, that is what is required. Then it becomes a habit. You know, habit has a very strong power on our behavior. We can make a better use of that power by constant effort. So, what is explained in this aphorism is why we have to apply abhyasa or repetition is to make use of this power of habit for that purpose. You see, habit is really very strong power. Everything what is going on in nature is because of habit. Everything which is working in us is because of habit. For example, our heart is beating. How it is beating? You see, heart has a rhythm of pumping the blood, heartbeat. It is because it became its habit to pump like that. That is the answer. Your heart is habituated to make this pumping and working in that manner with a rhythm. So this rhythm is a habit. Suppose you have changed the rhythm of the beating of the heart. How you change? When you are involved in an emotion, like a fear or anger, all these things are emotions. So with emotional disturbance, what you are doing is, you are changing the rhythm of the working of your heart. Then you are going to change the habit of this working of the heart. Then when the rhythm is changed, then what happens? that produces a disturbance, and later it is diagnosed as a disease of the heart. So this disease is only a result of a change in the rhythm of the functioning of the heart. So due to habit only, everything is working in this creation. So that is a very powerful aspect in the creation, this habit. So we can make a better use of that power of habit by constant effort, by abhyasa. So that is why we have to apply abhyasa. So the behavior of the mind can be suspended by using this power of habit. So that is abhyasa. So abhyasa, or the effort, is not just only what we understand in our mind. The meaning of abhyasa, or the effort, is not just the normal meaning what we know. Suppose you started a new work. In the beginning, you feel very enthusiastic. For example, sir, if you call me and say, let us start practicing yoga, in the beginning it will be very enthusiastic. So exactly we are on the time, and we came with all our yoga mat and all this. Everybody will carry a yoga mat. We put the yoga mat there. If you can show I have a yoga mat, I am practicing yoga. So we come exactly just 1 minute before starting, very sharp, spread the yoga mat and started practice. Very enthusiastic in the beginning. So the yoga teacher said, you have to come early in the morning at such and such a time. So we make up our mind, we have to get up at such and such a time, we have to go by that time, so we will be there. Because it is a new thing, so we are very enthusiastic, like a child who got admitted in a school. When a young child, little child, the child is very enthusiastic. The child wants to have this dress, this box, this bag and all these things to go to the school, very enthusiastic. Just like that, we are very enthusiastic that I have to practice yoga, I am practicing yoga. So we are enthusiastic. So, all what we practice of yoga, so 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, so like that 1 week. And then after 1 week, the next day, if you take a photograph of this fellow on the first day of his face, and another photograph on the 8th day, that means after completing 1 week and next day of his face, then you can see there is a variation. On the first day he is very enthusiastic, and after 1 week, I have to practice yoga, yes. But the enthusiasm in the face has decreased. So after a month, then I will find some excuse. I will come a bit late for the practice of yoga or for meditation or anything. So a bit, then we'll console ourselves saying that, once a while, if I go start a bit late, nothing happens. Then what happens? Our next day or another day, little more late. And after a few days, then we disappear. Because they say, oh yes, of course, I have to attend some work, therefore, but of course I can continue my practice. But all this is gone. Because it became monotonous. After some time, what happens is, without enthusiasm, somehow with great difficulty we do it, it becomes monotonous. So, effort is opposite of monotony. So, an effort is with much enthusiasm. When you see on the first day a person having enthusiasm, after 1 month also having the same enthusiasm, then it is a effort in the real manner. Otherwise it becomes monotony. So, first of all, what we have to do is, you should begin to feel enthusiastic of your yoga practice always. Not only first day or second day, all the days. Even after 1 year also you must be the same, then you are right. So first of all, you must have devotion. That is the secret. You have taken up any work, you must have devotion to the work, then only it can continue. Otherwise it becomes monotonous and you will stop after some time. So every work what you have to attend, so this you have to apply in every work. You should apply devotion, you should be with same enthusiasm, you have to do it. There should be no moments where you lose enthusiasm. Then you are in yoga practice and you are in yogic life. Some people say that when I am not interested, how I can be enthusiastic? Then the question is that you want to live sometime with smiling face and sometime with very depressed face. So all these changes will happen if you are like that. So, it is not, the enthusiasm should not be depending on the work. So, in all the work which is interesting will be enthusiastic. That is how generally we feel. But if you start any interesting work, so-called interesting work, how long it will be interesting? Only for a few days. Afterwards the interest is gone. And you will try to find a new work which is interesting. That is the behavior of the mind. Some fellow says that there is a wonderful program of study of Patanjali Yoga Sutras. So very enthusiastic, very interesting. We go there 10 minutes before and we sit and it starts. Oh, very wonderful, very... And then everything explained is so wonderful, so enthusiastic. And after a few days, and you say, oh, this is all what I know. All the time what is he explaining here is that this is all what I know. So enthusiasm is left. And next, after a few days, somebody says, there is another place where they are practicing meditation. Yes, that's so. We leave this and we go there. Meditation directly. Why do you study all these things? You can start meditating. So there, he goes there. So everybody should sit and just very easy, he says, just close your eyes and say some few words like Master CVV Namaskaram and close the eyes. Keep observing what is happening. Oh, this is very interesting, very easy. Close the eyes, close the eyes. Keep observing. After a few minutes you are not there. And that fellow feels that I am in samadhi, but that is sleep. He got into sleep, not samadhi. So he feels, oh yes, very good. After some time he wakes up. Oh yes, I am in a wonderful state. What is that wonderful state? Absent of measure. That is sleep. So for a few days, he'll go there, this prayer center, attending the prayers and meditations and all these things. Very wonderful, very enthusiastic. And after some 1 or 2 months, then he says, oh, what is that people are doing there? Only sitting and closing the eyes, that's all. What is there? What is some practice? So enthusiasm is gone. So like this, what happens is, after 1 year you see this fellow, nothing gained. Because his enthusiasm is in the beginning very enthusiastic. But gradually his enthusiasm fades away. So therefore what happens? He is just like a rolling stone. Rolling stone gathers no mass constantly. So here it is not that you say which of the methods are more scientific, which of the methods are more practical, all these things. You start following. So that is what Patanjali says. The effort what you are putting, that is called abhyasa. Tatra sthitau yatnaha abhyasa means the effort. So for this you have to first attitude should be there. Attitude should be there, and then you have to get into the attempt, which is to be put into action. So this is the sequence. So abhyasa is the first instrument. So you have to put an effort, put into action with veneration upon the effort. That is also important. That means on the first day you started this practice with a very good spirit. The same spirit should continue even after 10 years. Then it is a real abhyasa. This is called, in Bhagavad Gita, this is called Shraddha. When there is no change in the spirit through the time, then it is called Shraddha. So we have to make this. For example, if you want an electric bulb to be erected, to have a good light, you have to first of all you have to make the connections properly. Without making the connections, how can you expect that there will be a good light illumination for you? For example, in a new place, in a room, you wanted to make a good lighting and all these things. First you have to make the connections properly. If the connections are not properly made, how can you expect that? In the same manner, you cannot get into state of yoga without making these connections properly. So that is why you have to make proper connections with proper insulation and all these things. In the same manner, with this instrument also, you have to make proper connections. Proper connections means here it is about proper behavior with others. Here the practice of yoga is not just on the yoga mat. That is also practice that is required for the physical body to make, that is also to make your body habituated for this effort that is required. But it is not just enough on the yoga mat. The practice of yoga is in your daily life, in every transaction with other person. That is where you have to use this effort, put this effort of repeating. So, this is an effort constantly in daily life, what is required. That is what Patanjali says. Wherever you go, you may be in your office, or you may be at your home, or anywhere you are, your focus should be on this. In every work, in every transaction, while you are traveling also. So that means all the time, if you are able to live with a good smile, with happiness, then you are on the right path. So whether you are on the right path or not, whether you are on the real practice of yoga or not, you can know, or other person can observe. If you are always on this happy expression, with a good smile, happy expression, with any person, in any situation, then it is a proof that you are really making the effort constantly. So you are not subjected to any sort of tensions or pressures. Some persons feel that, oh, we have so many pressures in my work, in my office, or in my work, or at home, so many pressures. And this we attribute to other persons. We say that because of the behavior of the other persons, there is so much pressure on me. Then that means what is your behavior now? To take all the pressure is your behavior. That means you are not using abhyasa. That is why you are taking all the pressures on your mind. You see? So you have to work at your end, not at the other person's. But when we are not habituated to this, the habit of our mind is to attribute on the other persons. That is where we have to reverse it. It is not with the other person. Because what we call other person is only an image, an impression about the other person. And we have to get our mind suspended from forming this impression. So that is why we have to apply this. We have to make this effort constantly to apply this. So, suppose you have a person with whom you are not able to agree, he is disagreeable. So suppose if the person if the behavior of that person is such, why should you behave like that? You can behave normally. If you are able to behave normally, then one day or the other, automatically that person can also behave normally. But that is not your concern. You are concerned only about how you have to behave. So therefore, what is abhyasa is tatra sthitau yatna abhyasa. That is what is explained here in this aphorism. Tatra sthitau yatna abhyasa. The aphorism 13, that is what is tatra sthitau means in that state. Tatra sthitau, in that state. Yatnaha means effort. So the effort in that state, repeating the effort in that state is called abhyasa. So this is called awareness. So constant awareness. So you have to apply this with every person, with your wife or with your husband, with your children. If you feel that the presence of your wife or husband or your children, it is a disturbance for your yoga practice, then you are not fit for yoga practice. You have to remember that it is your mind which disturbs you, not the other persons. So what you will know from studying this subject is, you will realize that what is disturbing you is not the other persons around you. It is your own mind which is disturbing you, because your mind is reacting towards those other persons. That is the thing. If all of you can excuse me, I think you will allow me to extend for another maybe 10 minutes to complete this. So this is an effort to keep in that state constantly. That is, this is not an attempt, but effort. Attempt is different from effort. Attempt we try to make so many times. I want to make an attempt here. I try to attempt this and this, attempt this. It is not the attempt, but it is the effort. This we have to remember, the difference between effort and attempt. So abhyasa is effort, repeating the effort, but not the attempt. So what is to be added to this effort is devotion. We have to use devotion also with this effort. Then you can continue this effort in a comfortable manner. We have to use devotion. And always we have to put this to the things which we have to do, but not what we have to done. Suppose we could not put proper effort and devotion to some things which were gone. But now if you start thinking that, oh, I should not have done like this, then it is of no use. You are concerned only with what you have to do now. Put your effort with devotion now. Not to something which you could not put much effort before. Suppose a student is there. So a student wants to have a good result in the examination. So if he constantly keeps thinking of the result, how he has to get the result all the time, then he will definitely fail. Because he has not put his effort properly. And after failure, then he starts thinking, oh, I should have put some more effort, but it is gone. Now you have to put the effort now. From now onwards you can put the effort. For what has happened in the past, it is useless. So, we should not waste our time. Time is very valuable. We should not waste our time in dwelling in the past. Suppose today I got the disturbance in my stomach because I have eaten something which is not agreeable to my stomach, even though because it is very tasty, I was tempted and I have eaten yesterday. Today I got disturbance in the stomach and pain. So then I think, oh yes, but of course I should not have eaten yesterday. But what is the use? You have eaten already and you got the result. What you can do is not to do this next time. Keep effort on your mind not to do this next time. That is only what you can do. In the same manner, you should not waste your time in thinking about the past. So, time also should be used with economy. For a yoga student, time is to be used in an economic manner by not wasting the time. So, disappointments, all these things are because of lacking the effort in a proper time. So, devotion also will be associated with this effort, should be associated with the effort. Devotion, love and all these things, all these are the traits, positive traits which are associated with this effort. So in our life, in our daily life, all this is how you have to deal with the other person, how you have to behave with the other person. This repetition, this effort should be there, applied with your behavior with the other person. So how can you verify yourself whether your effort is enough or not? It depends upon how you are behaving with the other person, how the other person, because the behavior what you make, this will have its effect on the behavior of the other person. So therefore, suppose if the master says, be compassionate to the person, even though that person has not shown any compassion to you, immediately we may think that how is this possible? It should be possible. It can be possible when you use abhyasa. That is what Patanjali will be explaining us. In the forthcoming sutras, aphorisms, more and more this will be explained, that if you can show your compassion even upon the person who does not show compassion on you, after some time you will realize that this has a great effect. When you are compassionate on any person without expectation, if you put your effort on this, then after some time you will realize that yes, this is very practical. So that is why he is explaining that suspension of the behavior of the mind can be possible by using abhyasa, first instrument. And also about this abhyasa, in the 14th aphorism, he is also telling that when the repetition is applied to good deeds continuously without any gap for a long time, then it gains a deep ground. That is the 14th aphorism. Satu dirghakala nairantarya satkara asevito drudhabhumi. So, this effort, you have to keep this effort without any interruption for a long time. So that is what he is explaining in the 14th aphorism. It is not enough if you put this effort for a short time and just make an interval and then again put the effort. That is of no use. You have to put this effort uninterruptedly for a long time. You have to put this effort in applying this for good deeds. That means for a useful actions. Useful means not only useful for yourself, useful for everybody, universal, without a personal motive. You have to apply this. Then you can gain a strong ground on this aspect, abhyasa, and then you will gain a good strength to make your mind, the behavior of your mind can be suspended. So in this aphorism clearly, so some people will ask, how long I have to practice this? Master said, until this question disappears from your mind. See, that is only the answer. Suppose if Master says every morning and evening at 6 o'clock, you sit in prayer and submit to the Master, then immediately, how long I have to do this? That is just a reaction for many people. How long I have to do? Master says, yes, until this question fades away from your mind. Why this question arises in the mind? Also Master explained. Master said that this question arises in the mind of such a person who doesn't want to continue for a long time. For a person who wants to have this always, will not put such question. That question does not arise in his mind. He starts doing it. When he is instructed, then he starts doing it, but doesn't question how long I have to do. So it is just like for a person suffering from some disease. He came to a doctor, and the doctor gave some medicine and also explained him some regulations in diet and all these things, but the patient does not like the regulations. He expects that immediately by taking the medicine, the disease should disappear. But it doesn't happen immediately. He has to follow certain procedure. Therefore, the patient asks doctor, in how much time that I will be cured? He doesn't remember that he is suffering since many years, but now after coming to the doctor, he asks, in how much time you can cure me? So this is also like this. For how long I have to keep practicing this? Until this question disappears from your mind. So, all these things we have to remember. These are all practical things. So, we have to put this effort uninterruptedly for a long time. Then it becomes until it becomes our habit. That is the reason. You have to keep this effort constantly for a long time until it becomes your habit. Then you gain a strong base for this application. And then only it is possible that the behavior of the mind can be suspended. Then only you can be in your real existence, you can be your real state. That is yoga. So we continue in our next class. So what I wanted to tell you is, if we may extend just for 15 minutes more or 30 minutes more, maybe 15 minutes, 1 hour I feel is a little bit less for 1 week. Of course, whatever we have studied in this 1 hour on the day, definitely for application it needs 1 week minimum. That is sure. But anyway, if we can have for 1 hour 15 minutes like that, if it is agreeable for you, we can continue like that. Thank you all very much. Vasudeva.